Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rangers Journal news show. It's the day after the night before, I guess. More of the same in Europe, still not a win. And it looks like that's us probably out of the Europa League. I don't think there's really anybody of us qualifying now. We're going to do a little bit of a match review because due to personnel problems last night, we weren't able to do a post-match show. So we do apologise if you were waiting in the lobby for that. But we will talk about it now. I'll come to my guest this week. Oh, not guest, co-host. Bob, first of all, mate, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad, guys. Not too bad. Obviously disappointed with the result last night. I know we'll go into a bit more depth on it, but yeah, just disappointed that the Thursday nights are no longer Rangers nights, to be honest. And hopefully the sooner we get past that, the better.
And Dino, you were on the pre-match. I wouldn't say you were particularly enthusiastic about our chances, but it was pretty bad, wasn't it? Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I said 2-1 to them, and that's how it finished. So, I couldn't get to sleep till stupid o'clock this morning. So it's a bit of a damning indictment to where I am mentally for Rangers at the moment, isn't it? Because I just couldn't get to sleep, and I must have been that angry with how crap we are in Europe. And I guess we'll get into that.
We will do, mate. Bob, I'll come to you on the game. We're going to just kind of discuss it as a whole, the negatives, the positives, and then we'll maybe do a wee deep dive on some of the kind of worst offenders. I didn't say defenders, but I meant defenders. The worst offenders in our team. But the game as a whole, obviously Dino had his pre-match thoughts before the game. Were you hoping for much last night? I've got to say it was a game I thought we maybe could get points in.
Yeah, same. I think after the draw that we had with Braga, and obviously the domestic results that we've had, have been positive. We seem to be on a bit of a roll, pardon the pun, but we seem to be kind of building a wee bit of momentum at least. But I was hoping for a positive result last night. Again, even if it had been a draw, I know it wouldn't have been the best result, but at least would have kept us on a kind of unbeaten run. But we just can't seem to go over the line in Europe. We've just completely dropped off a cliff from this time last year, and not even this time last year, from March this year, when we were beating Fenerbahce, to not having won a single game this session in Europa League. So yeah, it's a damning indictment of the very, very poor recruitment process in the summer, which again I know we've all touched on through various pods over the last several weeks. But again, it's just it's the hope it kills you, Billy. We thought we were maybe making a bit of progress, and then last night it's glaring how badly that we are recruitment wise.
Yeah, and Dino, if you compare, as Bob's saying, even to earlier this year. But compare it to last year's Europa League draw. I thought that was a difficult draw we got last year, but we managed to qualify, finish in the top 8. This year, I thought it was a lot more favourable to us. And then what you would call the easier games that 3, 4, 5 in the last 3, 4, 5 years, we would have probably won quite comfortably. This team is just not. It's been built so badly that it's not able to even put a decent run together against poorer European opposition. We're now in the poor opposition category.
Don't actually like Gerrard, under Gerrard, Gio, Beale, Clement. Maybe not too much the latter, but you're talking a 2-0 win. It would be a comfortable win, and it would be a clean sheet. That's the type of result that we would have got last night. And I just when it's been badly managed. It's just it epitomises everything that's went wrong at the club, and I guess epitomises why we've had 3 major sackings in the first third of the season. So,
these sackings haven't came because of European.
As a whole, they've came because of how badly run the club is, and obviously, badly run club is makes us badly performing in Europe. We just don't have the players there, to be quite honest with you. And that's just fact. We're actually probably borderline, not far off the same standard we were before Gerrard came in. Because even in Gerrard's first season, we were unlucky. In fact, we got wrongly done, if you ask me, in that first group stage with Spartak Moscow and Villarreal. I believe we should have had a goal. Anyway, the point is, even that team, we were under major reconstruction, and we had, looking at the players that we had, you'd think, how did they even get a game for Rangers? But that team that we had then was miles better than the team that we have now.
Well, just talking over the game, obviously we take the lead. A nice finish by Miovski. That is a good point or something we can build on at least. That's 3 goals in 2 games. I think I read Davy Edgar's tweet on Twitter last night saying that's confidence. He wouldn't have tried that a couple of weeks ago. So if he's going to try these things, more is going to come off for him. Obviously, there was an initial offside. It did look offside to me, but I think the commentator said his toenail was just a bit shorter than the defender, so he was onside. We didn't start particularly well. If they had a shot in the first couple of minutes, just by the post, Butland made. I'm not going to criticise him too much. Made a couple of poor choices when it comes to collecting a ball, but it looked like we were going to come out on top in that first half.
Yeah, we certainly seem to kind of build again, just as I touched on earlier, Billy. A bit of momentum. We went into the game. Okay, we had a couple of threats early on from Ferencváros, but we seem to kind of build ourselves into the game. We seem confident. Again, the goal came probably a good time for us. It was a good cross by Aarons, doing what we would hoped he would have done from the start of his loan and not into mid-December. Getting ball, driving forward, getting balls in the box. Again, a wee bit fortunate that it's bounced up in the middle. Miovski finishes it with, let's say, a aplomb. As you say, the fact he's got a couple of goals in his last game. The confidence is building. He's getting the service that we've all been crying out for that he needs. Hopefully, he's now settled and he's fully aware of the expectations he has as a Rangers striker rather than as an Aberdeen striker before. There's you're not going to get as many chances. You're not going to get as many chances defensively. Just because the teams are far more compact against us than they are against the rest of the SPFL. So, yeah, it certainly was a good finish by him. Again, I do think he is coming on to a game. I think that's why the manager's persisting with him. Hopefully his injury isn't too bad. I know how he got brought off in the second half, which again I know we'll come to and touch on. But that certainly up to the 44th minute or 45th minute of the first half, I thought if we're going 1-0 up, it's certainly a good reflection of how we've been in the game so far. It's just obviously unfortunate things then played out the way they played out.
Dana, I do think it was against the run of play that we kind of got that goal, at least against the kind of run of the spirit of how it had been going. I think Ferencváros had looked better, looked a lot more organised than us. They do get a deflected goal with the last kick of the first half. That's a really horrible time to lose a goal, isn't it?
Aye, it's the stage of the game you just want to stay tight and don't give anything away. We're very loose, so it's very easy for teams to take advantage of that. Aye, that's I mean how they scored the goal. It was actually I thought it was a pretty neat, well worked team goal. That it was quite slick, but it was probably made better by just Gassama being a rabbit caught in headlights. Not knowing what to do, the basics again that we keep referring back to. That's all that was. Go with your man. And deflection. Would Butland have got if there was no deflection? However, still, that's what happened. And then full momentum with them, even though there would have been a slight momentum going in at half time with us with a 1-0 lead. And that was basically, that just sums up Rangers' season, to be quite honest with you. We're 1-0 up away in Europe, but let's let's come out second half, get a second goal. Let's see if we can get 3 points finally, and then we concede right in stroke of half time.
Mm-hmm. Bob, I guess it's summed up. We get a goal. It doesn't matter if it's in the league or in Europe. I'm never confident we're going to be able to hold on to the rest of the game with that, and that kind of proved, basically because of the defence we've got, and it proved to be true. A ball down the left hand side. I don't know where Tav was, but crossed in, and Fernandez is facing the wrong way. Nowhere near his player, and that's a player who scored 20 goals this season. It's only not even Christmas time. Criminal defend. The lack of awareness, both of them. I'm not going to criticise Giga too much. I thought he played okay, but that okay is not good enough for Rangers, and we need to be better than this. They didn't look like they knew how to play that position, being centre halves, but that's the position they've always played their career. But they look completely out of their depth.
Yeah, it was. You're hitting pillows in frustration, Billy. I think watching the first goal again just seemed to switch off. Again, the manager touched on it post match, and that you've got to win your duels 95 minutes. You can't switch off for 1 minute, or else you'll get punished at this level. I've heard it so many times before by so many previous managers, as bad as it sounds, but Giga and Fernandez have been doing well domestically because they've been thrown together due to injuries. And Fernandez, I do feel at times does look decent. I'm not going to say he's good, or he's brilliant by no means is he anywhere near that at this stage. But it just seemed as if he switched off for 1 minute against their deadliest player. The fact that you're saying that he's scored 20 goals this season, it's not even the end of the year, is crazy. I don't know if he just had, obviously watched it back a couple of times through the replays, and you just look and go, just keep your body goal side of him. Just keep but he seems to somehow get himself. The one thing that I'm sure both of you remember being told defensively whenever you've played football is, don't let the attacker see your back, and that's exactly what happened. He managed to get turned. He doesn't know where the attacker is, and that's how the goal gets scored. It's absolutely diabolical defending from him. And to that point, he had been all right. Again, as you said, Giga had made a good couple of tackles, but again, I don't think any of the defence could cover themselves in any sort of glory last night. Tav, I think, was out of position for the cross coming in to begin with. Going from a right centre back to right wing back, I just don't think. I understand the manager wants to tweak things, but we need to try and find some sort of settled formation that we need to push forward with, and I think that's a difficult thing at the moment. I just don't think we've got the quality to allow him to do that, and hopefully come January 1st he's able to bring in. As much as I keep joking about it on this news show, I was just like, I really hope he goes and gets like 2 6'5" defenders from Germany, and maybe a speedy winger from Barcelona. But I know it's a pipe dream, but I'm gonna keep asking Santa till it comes true.
Fair enough, mate. And Dino, just on the goal, but I want to also move on to the fact that we only really had one other chance with Finlay Curtis late on in the game. But the defending from as soon as that pass goes out to the left, it's just awful.
Yeah. Again, keep banging the drum, and it's annoying me. But the basics, Tav shouldn't be letting that cross in. That's just standard basic defending. Lets the cross in, and Fernandez is, I don't think who it was in co-coms or at the end said he did a pirouette. It's exactly what he did. He did a pirouette. Like, what are you even doing, man? But I guess that's what happens when you sign somebody from Peterborough. No disrespect to them, but they are a lot of levels below Europa League, put it that way. And knowing how dangerous their centre forward was, you're going to have to be on your A game. And Bob, what you'd said there about Rule and the choices he's got, these choices are limited because of injuries as well, and because of poor recruitment. So at his disposal, he doesn't have the resources to be able to play, and that's really sad. And like, I'm one of Tav's biggest critics, as you all know, and it's been unfair on him being asked to keep on doing what he's doing, game in, game out, at 34 years old. There's not, like, not very many of recent memory, recent time I can think, but Cafu's probably an exception, who was like a pendulum going up and down that right wing at the age of 35, and not very many can sustain that level of consistency as it's been proven throughout history and football. So Tav is no exception. That his legs have completely gone. He's never been good defensively. Like I've tried to see the positives about him defensively, but there was a few errors that there was one with a header and like, what are you doing? And then like Coiste like was going, what, like he was in the middle of the park, like, he was telling him where he should be and what he should be doing, and it's right, he's just never been that good defensively to begin with, and we're putting all this added extra defensive pressure on him because we're so poor in front of him in terms of pressing and people winning the ball, people with second ball. So there's a lot more onus on Tav defending, which previously that there didn't need to be. So there is that, and it's actually a shame for him in a way, to be quite honest with you, that we're so heavily reliant on him because of poor recruitment. And at the end of the day, Tav should never have been in that position last night, right back to stop that crossing. That should have been a younger, fresher player for us, but it wasn't. It was 34-year-old Tav whose legs have gone, and that's at the end of it. And we've got a centre half who doesn't ken if it's New York, New Delhi, or New Year. Do you know what I mean? So he isn't of standard of Europa League. We could probably get away with him in the league, but he's not standard Europa League. So, that's kind of my perception of the goal last night.
Bob, I mean, I've said we should be going there and beating these teams. I'm maybe being a bit arrogant when it comes to. I think they did beat Celtic back in 2021, 2-1 at Parkhead, which, that was an all right Celtic team at the time. Certainly not the team they've got now. I'll just bring Stevie to the stage. Hi, Stevie. How are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm well, thank you.
You not get your heating on? You having to wear your jacket inside?
It's absolutely roasting in here, mate. Honestly, it's tropical, but I just dashed up the stairs. I've not actually had time to take it off.
No worries. Well, I'll come to you in a minute, Stevie, but I've just was talking to Bob there. It was more. How much of this is on Danny Rowe is where I was coming to. It was 4 games in Europe now. He only scored two goals, 1 draw, the rest defeats. He has done better in the league, but kind of hoped he would do well in Europe as well. It's purely down to the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as Dino was kind of touching on there, Billy, to me, Europe is a step above, but we're so watered down in terms of quality of player. It's untrue. We're such a different prospect to play now, even 6 months down the line from when we were beating Fenerbahce, as I kind of said earlier. I think, the quality of player that we've brought in over the summer is just not good enough. Again, domestically, Fernandes from Peterborough is probably going to be, at least similar, if not slightly better quality than what you're playing week in, week out in the league. But for Europe, you need a better quality of player, and the manager's trying to do the best that he can with the players that he's got available. Yes, injuries have played their part. Yes, it's disappointing that we've not, we've only, collected 1 point, which was in the last home game against Braga. But I agree with you, Billy. I think, it's difficult to look at the current team and think back to 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, when, going to Ferencváros would have been, we'll probably pick up a 2-1 win. We'll come out there with a positive result. Could beat Braga at home. That this year's draw that we got in the Europa League, I seriously fancy us to go far, because it's probably and no disrespect to these teams, it's probably the easiest draw we've had in a long, long time in Europe, and we should have picked up far more points than what we've done. Simple as that. Like Sabran away again, hands are tied. First match for the new manager, but I think the only time we've played relatively well in this season's European competition was, I think we've all touched on it, was Victoria Pilsen at home. That's the only time this team looks as if they've clicked. And again, that was way back in August. I understand that obviously a lot of water has passed under the bridge since then, but we have looked nowhere near that team since then. And it's just it's a damning indictment of the removal, sapping of confidence in the players that we've recruited in the summer. Obviously, the previous management team and the recruitment team, they've just not bought what we've needed to kick on. So yeah, it's sad. I don't put too much blame at the manager's door. He can only play the players that he's got available. Billy, I think after January and in the summer, we'll have a better chance to judge him. On his players rather than the players that he's kind of inherited.
So, Stevie, I'll give you a catch up. We have just been talking about the game so far. We're not yet at the point of character assassinations of certain players, but give me your thoughts on the game as a whole, and kind of, as a singular game. How did you feel it went? How do you feel it kind of swayed?
I felt it really was a game of two halves. I was quite impressed with the first 45 minutes. Well, first 49 minutes up until Gassama switched off. I thought it was quite a good disciplined performance. Everybody seemed to be, really picking up their men or making the good runs, like putting in a decent shift. Like a lot of good work went in the first half. But then it's just that one lapse, it undoes everything good that's went before. So really frustrating. But to me, I kind of mentioned it on the members pod I was on Monday night with Jock, that I'm not even looking at it game by game just now under Rangers. I'm looking at half by half. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, as we've all kind of covered, like Danny Rowe is working with a squad that is not his. And really, it's a squad that's very inferior compared to previous teams last season even. So, yeah, I think, the framework he's putting in place, it's looking good to me. I think he's got a structure, but the component parts, they're not good enough, and we all know this. So, yeah, first 45 was good. Great finish from Miovski. I think the fact that he's now, his confidence is clearly coming back. That finish was brilliant. A lot of people were doubting him, but he's got the goals at the weekend. He scored again last night. And you know what? I think he deserves the time because, like, when you've been out for a while, like, he never played much last season. So when he comes back in, he's got to kind of get up to speed. And it's not like a midfielder or a defender who've been out for a long time, because they come back in, they've got 3 or 4 bodies beside them. They almost cover. It's like an isolated role, particularly at Rangers. It's going to take a bit longer. And he's starting to click. Hopefully his injury is not too bad, but I was talking to my old man about it, and he was mentioning Haitley. I know I'm going way back in time here, but he says when Haitley came in, he was 6 months, and he looked absolutely rubbish because he hadn't played much football. As soon as it clicks, he's off, and he never looked back. So I'm hoping Miovski's got a similar trajectory. But back to the game, second half, it didn't feel like we came out the traps, really. It was almost like we were waiting to get beaten. A couple of plus points, and Big Dujon coming back. Really delighted to see that. To me, he's got to be starting very soon once he's up to 90 minutes. But again, the second goal that we concede, Tav, he's let the guy get away from him and let the guy get the cross. And how do you stop a cross? How do you stop that goal? He stopped the cross, and he almost makes no effort to stop that guy getting the cross, and it's so frustrating. Again, I'm not bashing the guy. He's done tremendously for us offensively, but defensively we've seen that far too many times, and it's just both goals were avoidable. We probably, as Bob said in previous seasons, we'd have went there and got a win quite comfortably, or not comfortably, but would be confident. But that's pretty much what I expected last night. I'm not like criticising the manager in the slightest. I almost wrote Europe off after the first 3 games this season. To me, it's all about the domestic season. So yeah, pretty much what I expected last night. It's just the quality in the European games is just a bit above what we're used to facing in Scotland, and like the slightest mistake tends to get punished, whereas in Scotland you maybe sometimes get away with it.
As Stevie mentions there, everyone that's watching and in the comments, we do a members pod, which is 99p a month. I think there's 3 pods extra a week, and it goes into more in-depth and statistical analysis of players and games. Doug's heavily involved with that, so it's going to be a lot of stats and a lot of graphics. So if you would like to help us out, please subscribe over on YouTube. I say it's 99p a month, and you get those extra pods every week. Dino, we've all now turned into individual players. Giga and Fernandez, okay, they are the third and fourth choice centre-half pairing. our first choice centre half pairing, I would rather was the third and fourth choice, and we had two players even better than that. But Giga is going to be leaving us. I don't even know if he's going to be here on Monday. I believe he is, but there's a chance he might not be. He might have to go. I don't know what we do because if that's the second string back four, and the only one for me that's getting any pass marks at all at the moment is Magoma.
Aye, Giga apparently is available Monday and he's away Tuesday.
I heard you saying that last night actually, so yeah, I should have remembered
and
that.
I think though that for the defence between now and Christmas, I think you're going to see Sterling and both Inciala getting used. I think even if it's just 30 minutes here for Inciala or what, just keeping other guys fresh to get us to January. And there has to be reinforcements, on the 1st of January. And I've been saying this for a while as well. It's baffling that we've not been into the free market and seen what we could get there. I'm pessimistic that there isn't somebody there that can come in and do a job that's better than what we've got. But in terms of the centre halves, the two centre halves that are going to be coming in are going to have to be starters, even when Cornelius and Suter both come back, whenever that will be. But Giga and Fernandez, they've been put together and just told get on with it, basically. Not a position that anybody wants to be in, but fact of the matter is we've got no other options at the moment. Sterling is probably going to come in and be our best centre half, and he's leaving a centre half, so he'll hopefully get 45 minutes at Hibs on Monday, and then hopefully he can then come in and take Giga's spot between now and the 1st of January.
I'm going to pull up a comment by Doug. I'm going to take it in two parts, Bob, but let me pull up so you can read it. He's saying that Thelwell hasn't just set Rangers back. Now, I heard Alan McCoist on TalkSport this morning saying there should be a government investigation into what Thelwell has done at Rangers, and I realise he's been hyperbolic himself, but something is... It can't just be as bad as he's just not very good at his job. This is monumental, how much he's damaged our club. The second part, Doug, I don't agree with. Failing to pick up coefficient points, that's on the rest of the Scottish teams as well. Okay, we've been carrying the load for the last 5-6 years, but it really is up to everybody to get these coefficient points. It's not just down to us. So I do disagree with you on that one. But the first point is definitely one I agree with. Kevin Thelwell is responsible for pretty much all of this. That doesn't let the Americans off the hook. They put him there, but at least they've got rid of him.
Yeah, no, I agree, Billy. I think, looking at Doug's comment, and I agree with what he said. Maybe kind of similar to yourself in the first point. The poor recruitment we've had in the summer has possibly cost us silverware this season. I'm saying possibly because we're still in technically we're still in 3 competitions, but we've been outplayed in the league for the early part, which has set us behind, but we seem to be slowly coming back in that front. Scottish Cup starts in the new year, which I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get a good run at. Europe is obviously Europe. In past years we thought we could at least get through to the kind of quarter-final stages or the last 32 stages. Obviously that's not going to happen. This current season. We've been set back so badly that the management team are going to have to be given this upcoming January window and the summer to try and address the damage that was done last summer. I think we'll be doing well if we get 90% of the signings right. I think I totally 100% agree with Dino. I think there needs to be signings made on the 1st of January. They need to be lined up and ready to be signed and registered and all that stuff on the 1st. We can't wait. We can't wait 2 or 3 days in after till after the Celtic game. These games are crucial. I know we can't do anything before the 1st of January. In terms of signing players, aside from the free agent market, which again would leave us trying to get them up to speed because they've not played for the last 3-4 months. yeah, I certainly think we need signings in the door. 1 minute past midnight on January 1st to go. These two people are coming in. They're going to play starting centre backs or whatever. Right back, left back. Don't really care. Defensively, we certainly need at least a left back and a centre back coming in. I agree to a certain degree with Doug's point about the coefficients, and just as you touched on, Billy, we've carried the burden for the last 5-6 years because other teams in Scotland just are not doing their bit. Could see that last night, the fact that all 3 Scottish teams in Europe were beaten. Some more so comprehensively than others, but regardless, we're still not picking up coefficient points, which makes it ever so much more harder, more difficult, more challenging for anyone trying to win silverware this season to get into the Champions League and Europa League and Conference League moving forward. I mean, even if by some strange set of events Hearts do win the league this year, they're going to have to face 2 or 3 qualifiers to get into the Champions League, and I'm not betting against them not doing it because the recruitment's been far better than ours. But to me, from our point of view, it's going to just make things a hell of a lot more difficult to get further in Europe and even to qualify in the first place for the group stages.
Stevie, I don't know if you follow the Scottish Coefficient account on Twitter, but I do, and I've listened to him on a couple of podcasts as well. Going forward, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get to this level as easily as we have automatic qualifications, or only 1 or 2. It's going to be Conference League, maybe even at best, and that's qualifying for the Conference League. It's a bad place we're all in, not just down to Rangers, obviously the other Scottish teams that are involved. But I'm looking at that starting lineup yesterday, and I'm going back to Thelwell again, and you've got Magoma, Fernandez, Giga, Gassama, Aarons and Miovski all starting, and Chimiti and Moore and Asgard all coming on. So that's all players that came in the summer. And I give Magoma past marks. I think he's been okay. Mikey Moore has come onto a game, and you might say Miovski has come onto a game, but the rest of those players I would quite happily see either sent back to the club. I know that's probably not possible just with how loans work, and we do need to keep them for the year. Otherwise, we ruin our reputation as a club you can reliably send loan players to. But those amounts of failures, and even 2 of them I've given pass marks to, has only been in the last 2 weeks. So I sort of say I don't know how it could have been any worse, the signing policy.
I fully concur, mate. It's bleak with the coefficient, and it's bleak with the signings that Thelwell's has basically made there. Especially when you contrast it to like two years ago, when we've got the likes of Goldson, Bassey, Barisic, even Defoe. I mean, you're talking about guys who are really good pedigree of players, internationals, and they're also that wee bit older. I think this is a key point as well. You look at those guys, and they're on their mid to late 20s. Whereas all the guys that we've signed there, they're kind of like 22, 23. They're nowhere near their peak. They're still developing. And it's very difficult to rely on those types of players to be that consistent, which is what Rangers need. So the fact that they've looked and they've signed this list of players thinking that's going to succeed at Rangers, I mean, it's a comprehensive failure. It's just dreadful. I kind of agree with Ali McCoy. They need a government inquiry into what he's done in the club, because we didn't need ripping up. And we still got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League last season. You know what I mean? That team did not need completely torn apart. It just needed a few really useful additions. Obviously, Bob and Dean there saying about we need guys in on the 1st of January. I'm very much like, I agree. But at the same time, I think we're at a stage where we need to be really patient. I think we have got a good manager in place, but he's got to build pretty much a new team again. I think we've got to focus on the spine. I agree with Bob, left back, centre back, and be a creative midfielder, another striker to replace Chimiti. Hopefully he leaves. But I think it's got to be done really almost organically for here. He's really got to build it slowly, because we've seen what we've tried in the summer has not worked. January is a very difficult window to do business. So I'd probably be happy with 2 or 3 quality players, guys who are maybe leaders. Kenny McLean, his name keeps coming up in our chats, and I wouldn't be against that. The fact that he's Scottish, international, he's got good experience, and he seems like a type of guy who will lead the dressing room. So somebody like that, we're not going to get another Davy Weir. That type of player doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But I think that's the kind of profile that we need to have to kind of complement the better younger players we do still have. because even Sterling coming back on last night, to me, he's more of a leader. But he's only, 24th? Just a lot of work to be done. And as you say, that the stuff about the European aspect, like we're not going to get Champions League, we're not going to get Europa League. I mean, it's really disappointing because we have carried the country for like the last 6 or 7 years. It's been Rangers alone that have done well in Europe. And now we have one bad season. And it's like the whole house is coming crashing down. I feel like we're almost getting victimised. Celtic basically benefited for our success to get automatic Champions League qualification. And we never really saw the benefit of that. And now it's just, where are we? It's like, it's very, it's a difficult scenario for everybody.
I know you brought this comment up already, Bob. I'm going to stay with Stevie for a second, but to bring it back. Now, I would say that Dean and Bob has said on this pod that we need players in the door straight away, just like Nicky's saying here. But I feel like what you're saying is rather than players in the door, we need the right players, and it doesn't matter at what point they come in January. Is that kind of what you're leaning towards?
I do, mate. I mean, to me, it's a miracle that we're even still only 6 points behind that mob, and obviously 9 points behind Hearts. But normally the season we've had would be like well out of contention. So, you don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't even focus too much on what they're doing. I would just try and really look in-house at Ibrox and see what we're doing and try and get it right. Because we can't have any more like Chermitties or Jiggers or even Asgard. I mean, he's not kicked the ball for me. We don't want to get it wrong. To be honest, I would be glad to see the back of most of those guys. I'm sure he's always if we could even sell a couple of them in January and move them on and fund maybe a few more signings. But I think ultimately that's what we're going to have to do. If we want to see the better quality, it's going to have to be sell a couple and then reinvest. I'm no against the ownership. They've obviously put their trust in Thela, which is a mistake. But the fact he's came out and said, yeah, it was a mistake, we're going to rectify it. It's shown that he's in it for the long haul. To me, you're either with him or against him. I'm still fully behind the ownership. And even with the sporting director hasn't been appointed yet, I don't know if we need a sporting director to get 2 or 3 signings. Danny Rowe must know what that team needs. I'd be quite confident and trusting him to say, right, these are my 3 or 4 targets, go out and get them. And if a sporting director comes in a few weeks, so be it. But ultimately, you want the manager picking the players. So, yeah, I'd be quite happy to lead with Danny Rowe, choosing the recruitment targets just now.
Steve, I know we're not in a great position, and I know you just said don't think about what they're doing over there. It's just really, really funny. So I have to look over there and laugh at a team that is so successful for the last 10 whatever years, and anyway, I'm not going to talk about them. We do have a difficult week ahead. Moving on from the European night, I'm just going back to my notes here. We do play Hibs on Monday evening as part of this weekend's fixtures, and we also play Hearts, the team who have beat us and the team who are top of the league and the team who have just beaten Celtic as well. So it's not a good week to come off these results and European results, at least anyway.
No, it's not, because it's, to be quite honest, it doesn't matter what stage of the season we're getting these fixtures. They're proven to be tough fixtures for us, irrespective of this season. So the fact that Hibs are actually doing decent, Hearts are knocking it out of the park at the minute, really. As you say, just beating Celtic, your confidence levels going into both of those games is very, very low. And I do genuinely believe this. If he gets like 6 points out of those 2 games, that'd be an absolute miracle. I'm to be quite honest with you, with the current state of affairs that he's got to play with. And it's the time of year where your festive period is usually renowned for having tough fixtures, isn't it? So I guess we can just hope that he does grind out a result, and we're not too far away. Because I believe our next few games we've all got quite difficult fixtures up until the Old Firm game, which is what's on the 3rd, 4th, 5th of January.
I've got that written down. I'll come to that. Yeah, it's on the 3rd.
It's on the 3rd eye. So I'm just saying, until then, it's quite a. I know you're just talking about the next 2 games, but it's the games as a whole, and we've just got to really just take it back and take it one game at a time. Go and play Hibs and go for the 3 points, and then worry about Hearts after that, and touch wood that we come through relatively unscathed, because we can't really afford to be having any more injuries. Definitely not defensively. I mean, if Magoma was to get injured, you know what I mean? Things like that is a frightening concept. Do you know? So, so touch wood that we're able to keep the the plasters and bandages on until the reinforcements are in.
Bob, looking ahead to December, yeah, as I said, we've got Hibs, which I expect to win the game. I know it's going to be away. Hearts, maybe a different. In fact, is it an away? I'll need to double check that if it's an away game or not. Yeah, it's a home game. So yes, I knew I expected to take points for that. Hearts is going to be away. I think the least for me at these next two games is 4 points, and that means we stay the same touching distance to Hearts. Obviously, what I would like to go away to Hearts and win, but they're playing well at the moment. But at least a win against Hibs and hopefully keep the points the same between us and Hearts.
Yeah, I think we always have a kind of notorious winter period. I know we've got I think it's St Mirren and Motherwell coming up, obviously over Christmas, before the Old Firm game. But to me, as you said, Billy, I think Monday night is crucial. We need to get back into a positive mindset, go and get a positive result, go and get a win. Hearts at Tynecastle is going to be even tougher than it normally is because of the momentum they have, being top of the league, and the fact that we're 9 points behind. So any sort of positive result in that game will keep us in the hunt for come the end of the season, hopefully. Again, I think most of the top six, if not all the top six, will have their ups and downs, as will we. But hopefully we can capitalise on trying to at least cement third place at the moment by beating Hibs on Monday, and then hopefully we can go to Tynecastle and come away with 3 points by some Christmas miracle to get that, to get a positive result. But yeah, the next two games are crucial. Those two teams have always been tough for us, regardless of where their position is in the league. So let's try and get through those two, and then we can look forward to the other games coming up over the festive period.
Stevie, touching back on the recruitment again, just because you were mentioning it, the players that we brought in all been young prospects. We're not really listened to as a fan base by boards, and I'm not saying you should listen to everything the fans say, but there's certain aspects that us as a podcast have said, and fans that you talked to at the games have said, that we need experienced leaders in that team. You can sprinkle youngsters in there, but inexperienced leaders. We could have told you about Russell Martin not going to work out. We could have told you some other things as well, but we're not listening to. But in this instance, I just want to focus on the type of player that we're going to need to bring in January. You mentioned something, Kenny McLean. I don't know enough about him, really. I've only really seen him play for Scotland. I know he's loved at Norwich, but his age does worry me, although I know we're saying we need a bit of experience. I would like maybe 30, 31, that type of character myself, just to get some kind of longevity out of them as well. I think somebody like McLean could easily find that his legs go by playing in this league. But I mean, is that what you're kind of saying? Sprinkle in a couple of, keep some of these youngsters that have came through, but sprinkle in some good pros, good leaders in that group?
Absolutely, because it's the best way for them to develop. You look at Fernandes, I know he's got a lot of stick last night, but to me, he's got Jigger beside him, he's got Tav, and he's got Magoma. I like Magoma, he's doing well, but he's a 19-year-old, he's a rookie. He's not really got many good defenders beside him. Again, I'm going to go back to a different era, but you think of a guy like Terry Butcher, Richard Gough, they probably wouldn't look great in that defence just now. You know what I mean? I'm sure they would drive it on and improve it, but the quality's just not there. So yeah, we've been calling it for leaders for so long. We've missed it in a few domestically. Like Alex, obviously Shanklin's an obvious one. I mean, he's captain of Hearts, Scotland international, brilliant player. We kind of talked that one to death. I depressed myself here thinking about it again, but he's the type of guy that would have been perfect in our dressing room. Just exactly what you want. A proper goal scorer, a leader, a good link-up man as well. That's the type of guy. We'll never get him now. There's no way Hearts would sell him in January. I actually think I think they're going to go for it. I'm pretty sure they're going to invest a bit in January. Tony Bloom's basically made his empire for gambling. I'm sure he's going to roll the dice, so good luck to them. I wish them all the best. I really do, because I can't see us really going to win the league, but you never know. I mean, obviously, we just have to take it game at a time, but we need those types of players. Obviously, look at when Walter came back the second time, he's Davy Weir, Hugo Eggyhog. I know we're not going to get like that level, but he identified straight away that the team, had a lot of good young players. It had like Alan Hutton, Charlie Adam, Chris Burke. There was talent within that squad, and to basically bring it out, You had to solidify it and have like leaders in the dressing room to kind of guide them. And that's what Rangers need. But I think we also need to add more quality as well, because as you've kind of covered, the guys who said in the summer, they do not look. I don't think they've got the attitude. You know, you look at Chermity and Asgard kind of having a pop at the fans. What's that about? You know what I mean? It's like you've no right to do that. You've not proven yourself in any way, shape, or form to have a go at the supporters. You do that, and then you go and do it again the next week. You keep scoring, you keep performing. You know, you don't do it once and then have a proper blast at the fans. That's out of order. But that to me shows like petulance and the fact they've not got that attitude to play for Rangers. So yeah, I wouldn't be too fussed to see the back of both of them. But yeah, Kenny McLean, again, he's probably not universally popular, but he's somebody who's maybe available. Another name that's came up is Joe Arable. You know, he's apparently available for £1.5 million. Wouldn't he say no to that? There's some talk that his wage is £70,000 a week, which is a lot of money. But I don't think we'd have to pay that. Even if I got him on a 6-month loan, just add a bit of quality, a bit of leadership in that dressing room. He's 29. You know, that's a good age. And he's a proven quantity in Scotland. And he did well in Europe for us, so we know he's a player. I wouldn't rule out something like that.
Dino, what do you think? Would you tempt Hearts, or is that ship completely sailed with Shankland? They're never going to give him up when they're going for the title, are they?
Probably not, but the way that Tony Bloom operated south of the border was that every player was available because they had somebody there waiting to come in. So with the database that he's got, I wouldn't actually be surprised if he's already got a Shankland replacement or two in ready for a potential bid from Rangers, because that's only going, let's be honest, that's probably only going to be the only team that's going to be ballsy enough to come in and put big money on the table 6 months after he was available for free anyway. So, but knowing how he's operated in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if he did have a price on for Shankland, and if Rangers meet that, he would sell him because he's that confident in his own system that he's got a ready-made replacement waiting. And however, again, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're going to go and spend on Shankland because of the aforementioned reason that it was available for free 6 months, and we're not going to go back in for him because we would just be even more of a laughing stock in Scottish football. So we want to keep that to a minimum. So yeah, I can't see us going for Shankland, but as I said, I think if we do, I don't think Hearts would say no.
Bob, maybe the ship has sailed purely from saving face. We wouldn't go back in for Shankland, as Dino said, he was free 6 months ago. If he is correct, though, and every player has their price with Tony Bloom, then I'd be considering Braga.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly shown up very well in the last, 3 or 4 months since he's joined Hearts. Again, depending on what type of prices they're quoting, I think we would probably need to pay some serious money for him and Shankland, although we wouldn't want to, or we'd like to try and get as much bang for our buck as possible. I certainly think Braga's shown well, but again, maybe that's just because they're playing in a system that suits himself and Shankland, which is why they're coming back into a bit of form. I know they've had a dip recently, and hopefully that continues in the next couple of weeks against us. But again, their management team is vastly experienced in this league. Dennis McInnes knows what it takes to build a successful team. He did it for years at Aberdeen. He's had some luck at Kilmarnock, and can just show how badly they've fallen off a cliff since he's left them, considering now fighting relegation. I think it's just a perfect. I hate to say it's a perfect marriage between management and owners at Hearts at the moment. He's been gifted. I say gifted. He's been able to recruit smartly using this database system that everyone's been talking about. Obviously, you can see that both sides of the divide in Glasgow have recruited poorly this summer, which have allowed Hearts to get to where they are position-wise in the league, and they've merited it. They've played probably the best football in the early part of the season to get themselves there, and they're just able to grind out results. None more so than the last week or two in the other side of Glasgow. So I'm certainly not against going in for half their team, just to A, wind them up, and B, obviously put us in a far better position. But I certainly think the ship has sailed for Shanklin. But yeah, Braga could be an option maybe in the summer. You're on mute, Billy.
Sorry, Stevie, you wanted to come in there.
Just really quickly, lad, if we're having a fantasy fire sale of the Heart squad, I'd go for Cammy Devlin. I've got it in good authority that he's got a really low release clause in his contract, and his contract is up at the end of the season. I know they're working on a new deal for him, but I'd put that bid in right away because he, to me, kind of ticks every box. He's good age, really competitive. Dino's mentioned the dark arts, he's really good at that. Proper, like, wee junkyard dog type player, and he's Australian. I think Australians always do well in Scotland. You think of the ones that we've had, like Craig Moore, Tony Vidmar, that they've always got a kind of metal about them. And he seems to always be fit. So he's a guy that I would definitely take for Rangers midfield.
I've been banging that drum for a long time. It's funny, when I first mentioned it, folk laughed at me, but because I think when I first actually realised, like, I was right in thinking that he's good, was I think we played Hearts in a semi-final, and he was just I'm sure was it semi-final maybe a couple of years ago, maybe, and he was just phenomenal. I'm man of the match, and I'm like, it's like we need this guy in our team. We needed him then, and we need him even more so now. And you're right about Australians. Australians have to obviously say across the city, Mark Viduka, Rogic, both very good players for them, undeniably. I think Viduka even said that he only played 50% up here, but two players obviously that played for us is Moore and Vidmar, and I mean, phenomenal. So
You're not including Jason Cummins in that, do you know?
Jason Cummins, forgot all about him. Go figure, eh?
We'll start to tie things up. What I was going to come to, in fact, it was going to come to you, Stevie, before you put your hand up. So I came to you earlier than I was going to. But looking ahead, we've got Hearts, Motherwell, St Mirren, Hibs, all teams round about us in the league. Doesn't get particularly better in January as we play Celtic and Aberdeen twice. Now, Aberdeen aren't doing particularly well, but it is Pittodrie. We'll have to go to you for one of those matches. And then you're looking at Ludogorets at home, Dundee, and then Porto at the end of the month. So these are games that are by no means gimmies. These are going to be a hard 2 months, really.
Absolutely. I mean, they're all going to be very tight games, I'd imagine. But it's just a case of grinding it out as best as we can until January, and we can get reinforcements. Hopefully get a couple of the passengers out the door and reinvest that money. But yeah, until then, really just, if you look at Roll, the 2 months he's been here, I think Rangers have won more points than anybody in the league. He's made a big difference. I know the progress is slow and it's sometimes painful like last night, but to me, we are heading in the right direction. I know we want everything yesterday, like the boys and everybody want the signings on the 1st of January. I get it. I really do have the same feelings that I want Rangers to be successful, but as long as I'm moving in the right direction, you've touched upon it across the city. They're an absolute mess. So who knows what's going to happen with them? So we just need to keep kind of grinding it out and picking up as many points and keeping in touch, because there's still another 6 months of football. There's a lot of football to be played, and you never know how the kind of land, the lay of the land is going to be after January. And we do get some new signings in. There's still a lot of football to be played, and I think just really keep progressing as we are, pick up as many points, and then maybe February, March time, you never know. You might find Rangers are actually in a title race, but that's a long way away. But in the very short term, we just need to get right behind them, especially the kind of youngsters like Fernandes and stuff. He doesn't need the stick he's getting last night. That guy, to me, he can be a good Rangers player, so we need to get right behind him.
Before I turn to my last point I've got for today, I do want to mention our sponsors, who is the Bluebells Pub in Puerto del Carmen. Now, if you're thinking about going on holiday, why not choose Lanzarote if you're going to one of the Canary Islands? And then you can go along to the Bluebells Bar, where they'll look after you if you mention the Rangers Journal. You can chill out and inside, or you can sit by the beach. You can watch all the Rangers games, and in fact, they even put our podcasts on from time to time as well. So if you're out in Puerto del Carmen, it is the only Rangers bar out there. So please go and check them out, and please also tell them that we sent you there in the first place. Was it you, Dino? I think we're going to come to next. My last thing, I'll go around the room with this, is just read some rumours this morning that Gassama had been linked with a move to Villarreal. Now, he started well for us, I believe, in 1 or 2 games. He's done things in moments, but he is certainly not a player I would lose any sleep over leaving.
No, most certainly not. I had like that new team bounce when he came in. He was doing really well. We were all singing his praises quite highly and thinking, we've got ourselves a player there. And then when Real came in, we were thinking, he performed well for him at Sheffield Wednesday. We were expecting Real to get another gear or two out of him, and it's been mediocre performances at best consistently. It's just doing absolutely nothing to impact any game at the minute. And like last night, we're like Curtis and Moore were on the bench, and he's keeping Gassama and any long. I know I'm going quite off a tangent here, but Gassama was crap last night. It would, get the young boys on. That's what I was thinking anyway, but I'm sure a lot of Rangers fans were thinking that as well. So, if a good offer comes in for him, or if they meet his minimum fee release clause, if he has one, then I wouldn't lose sleep like yourself, Billy. That's for sure.
Well, we got him at a pretty good price, all things considering. So making some money off him, turn them flipping it quick. That could be something that could come, something good that could come of his signing.
Yeah, just before I go to that point, I'm just going to pull one Australian name out of the mire, which was Matt Mackay, and the less said about him, the better. But to your point, Billy, I think if we do make a profit in Gassama, I think it would be good business. It would help reshape the squad the way Rule wants. Yes, I know that he was a player that he liked, and he's obviously worked with under at Sheffield Wednesday, but I certainly don't think. Again, since the Pilsen game, we've rarely seen him. He seems quite petulant at times, and that's certainly something I don't want to be seeing consistently with our forward players. Again, I know it's all too much, seen all too often in the game these days with these modern players. But just got to admit. I mean, I felt last night that it was a rough game, and we were, don't get me wrong, I think some of them have, warranted a free kick or a card, but we're not going to get anything in Europe considering the way we're playing at the moment. But yeah, to your point, I think to help Roll reshape the squad as he sees fit would hopefully give us an opportunity to bring in another couple of players in the window. Whoever's dealing with the player recruitment and player releases, the coming and going of players, whether it's Dan Purdy or Thelwell Jr. And I'll put my money in the swear jar for that one. But whoever it is, they're going to have to work some amount of hours this coming window to get us back into any sort of shape. And before you move on, just to your point on the fixtures, I mean, with a bit of luck and some positive results, you could be sitting here on the 1st of February saying we are more than certainly in a title race, depending on how other results go our way. Just as kind of Stevie touched on, these games are tough, but if we're able to recruit correctly and smart in a January window, bring in the players that we really need defensively and creatively, I'd really like to think, and I know it's a long way away. I'm not trying not to get ahead of myself, but yeah, I mean, certainly come 1st of February when the window shuts, you could be looking at us being certainly closer to the top of the league than we currently are. I'm not going to say top, but depending on how results go, we could certainly be in a far better position than we are at the moment.
Stevie, last word to you. Keep your jacket on now. We're just about to finish up. Last word on Gassama to you. Would you be happy to see him go if we turned a profit on him, or would you like him, like Doug is saying, he maybe would like him to stay and grow into a player, but if the right bid comes in, then you just take it?
No, I'd delighted to see him leave, to be honest, mate. If we get a good bit, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9 million for him, be delighted. To me, it's like the Boom Song situation. We sell a player, or we get him for next to nothing, turn a really good profit, and we go and get Barry Ferguson. And who was the other one? Was it Kyriakos? I think it might have been a Greek defender. like real solid business getting those two, and I mean it basically won us the league. So to me it's a no-brainer. If we can get a decent bid in, take it, because he did have a great start. You can't take that away from him. He did really well at the beginning, very impressive. But now he's not produced for basically 2 or 3 months, and he's kind of consistently inconsistent. So yeah, I'd be glad to see the back of him. If it meant we're going to get better coming in, just really beef up the squad and add the numbers that we need where we need it, because we've got players like Cameron. He's a proven quantity in the league. He can get goals, he can get assists. Give him a run, and Curtis, I think he looked pretty decent last night. Still needs a game, so yeah, he's one guy that I wouldn't be too fussed to see the back. It would definitely benefit the squad overall to see that money reinvested.
Thank you, guys. I'm just going to say a good thank you to everyone in the comments. It's been good to get all those comments coming in, and thank you everyone that is watching. I think I speak for all of us and say these pods quite often are therapy sessions from us, for us at least. If you would like to get involved, please reach out to us. We are looking for people to come on the pod. We want different opinions from everyone, really. So reach out to me on Twitter at AverageGersFan. My name is there, or Billy at the Rangers Journal. Sorry, it's just Billy at rangersjournal.com as well. If you're interested in coming on the pod, being a regular contributor to it as well, I would love to have you. One last thing as well, you may notice I'm wearing the Rangers Journal hoodie. If you go over to our merch store, which you can scan that QR code there just now, or go over to Etsy and just one word in the search bar there, the Rangers Journal, we have an abundance of things, from T-shirts to hoodies, to whatever Ross has made up over there. Go and scan the QR code or go over to Etsy and have a look. It does support the pod directly, and we're able to invest in this side of things. So again, thank you everyone for watching. We will be back on Monday for a pre-match on the Hibs game. I haven't decided yet, Dino or Stevie, you used to generally come on in the evenings, if that is going to be a full pod rather than a pre-match one, because we do normally do a podcast on a Monday evening at that time. So we might just do a kind of longer version looking into that game. And also looking up any other kind of Rangers news that's come in over the last couple of days. So, yeah, we'll be back on Monday night. Thank you very much for watching. And it just leaves me to see if I can find the button. Can't find the button. Where is it? Yeah, every night it's the Rangers Journal night. And we'll see you again soon, guys. Thank you very much.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.